In the winter of 1959, a group of students and recent graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute in Soviet Russia set out on an expedition into the northern Ural Mountains. There were 9 of them, led by a skilled hiker named Igor Dyatlov. With skis, tents, and enough supplies for weeks, they began their journey with youthful pride and confidence. They weren't ordinary adventurers. All were highly trained in survival, seasoned in enduring extreme conditions. This expedition was meant to showcase their toughness, a testament to the strength of Soviet youth. Yet what started as a proud adventure ended as one of the most chilling mysteries in history. On February 1st, 1959, the group reached the slopes of Kholat Syakhl, a mountain the indigenous Mansi people ominously called the Mountain of Death. The winds howled, the temperature dropped to nearly -30 degrees Celsius. That night, they pitched their tent on an exposed slope rather than the safer valley below. The reason for this decision remains debated, perhaps to make progress the next day, perhaps for reasons we'll never fully know. That night was their last. None would survive. Days later, when the group failed to return, families raised alarms. A search party was dispatched. What they discovered would haunt investigators for decades. The hiker's tent was found, collapsed and partially buried in snow. The fabric had been slashed open from the inside. Their boots, jackets, and gear were left neatly behind, untouched. Footprints in the snow revealed a chilling truth. Some had fled barefoot, some in socks, some barely clothed, heading toward the forest. Why would experienced hikers flee into the frozen night, half-dressed, with certain death awaiting them? Searchers soon found 2 bodies beneath a cedar tree, lying near the remnants of a failed campfire. Both were dressed only in underwear, their hands torn as if they had desperately tried to climb the tree. Nearby, 3 more bodies were discovered, sprawled in the snow as though they had crawled back toward the tent, but never made it. Their skin pale, their faces frozen in terror. Weeks later, when the snow began to melt, the final 4 bodies were uncovered in a ravine. Here, the horror deepened. Several of the hikers suffered massive internal injuries, 1 with a crushed skull, 2 with shattered ribs and broken chests as if struck by a force equal to a car crash. Yet their skin bore no external wounds. It was as if something had slammed into them with invisible power. 1 woman was found without eyes. Her tongue had been torn out, her face disfigured. What could possibly cause such injuries in the frozen wilderness? The Soviet investigation concluded with a vague statement. The cause of death was an unknown compelling force. Then the case was abruptly closed. Theories began to spread. Some claimed the hikers were attacked by the native Mansi people, but there were no signs of struggle, no defensive wounds. Others suggested an avalanche drove them from their tent, yet the slope conditions made this explanation unlikely.
One popular idea is that the hikers stumbled into a secret military test. The area was known for weapon experiments. Villagers nearby reported strange glowing orbs in the sky on the same night. Were the hikers witnesses to something they were never meant to see? Radiation traces were later found on some of their clothes, adding fuel to the theory. If true, why didn't the government erase every record? Why leave behind fragments of the truth?
For those who believe in the supernatural, Dyatlov Pass is haunted ground. The very name Kholatsyok translates as Mountain of Death. Old legends told of spirits roaming the peaks, punishing those who disturbed their land. Others point to extraterrestrials, the glowing lights in the sky, the unexplained injuries, the missing organs, all fit the narrative of an encounter with something beyond our world. Could 9 young hikers have crossed paths with a force not of this earth? Imagine that night. The storm rages, snow blasting the tent. Then something happens, something so terrifying that 9 seasoned mountaineers cut their way out of their own shelter and fled into the howling cold, half-dressed, running to their deaths. Did they see lights in the sky? Did they hear a deafening sound? Or was there something moving toward them in the dark, something worse than the cold, something that made death in the snow seem like mercy? Even now, more than 60 years after the tragedy, Dyatlov Pass remains an enigma. The Russian government once reopened the case, yet the conclusion stayed the same. The deaths were attributed to an avalanche. Many experts reject that explanation, calling it far too simple to account for such a vast and haunting mystery. Among the countless theories, one fact stands unshaken. 9 hikers met their end in a way that defies the bounds of logic. The snow-laden forests of the Ural Mountains still guard their secret, one that humanity may never uncover. And every time the night wind sweeps through Dyatlov Pass, it is said that echoes return. The frantic whispers, the muffled screams, the desperate footsteps of those hikers fleeing from something far more terrifying than death itself.